jainworld.com 25 years of service to Jainism.
Jai Jinendra, good evening and welcome to you all. Today we will be talking about Uttam Tyag, Supreme Renunciation. This is the eighth rung in the ladder of 10 rungs, and very important, a important step in self-purification, flowering of our inner self, blossoming of our inner self, and a chance to transform ourselves to a better being. Naso parigaho bhutto Nayaputte natayana Mucha parigaho ruti irutam hesinam. Bhagwan Mahavir says that possession of clothes or other items or other things is not possessiveness, but you are getting auto-hypnotized by those items, and your ignorance about the items, and as a result of that, your greed for the items, that is what is the possessiveness. So for Uttam Tyag, Supreme Renunciation, this is an important sutra. Possessiveness is the root cause. And possessiveness is there because of the greed. And greed is there because of the ignorance about the true nature of the things. And ignorance about the true nature of our own soul, our own Atma, our own Chetan or Shakti. So today we are going to see Uttam Tyaga, and there are two parts into this. When we give up a particular thing or things completely, that is Tyaga. And when we give the things partially, that we keep something for us and some part of that we donate to others, share with others. And that is called as a dana, a donation. And today we will see both the aspects of Uttama Tyaga. So as a child, I went with my parents to a river. And in the sand there were a lot of color stones. And my parents were busy with other elderly people, talking, discussing and doing other things. And I got myself busy into collecting all those color stones, because for the first time I was small and I was fascinated with those color stones. So I collected a lot of color stones. And then it was time to depart from there. And I want to take all the stones with me. But my parents and all the other elderly people said, no way, you can't take the stones. They are simple stones. And why we need them? But for me, they were very, valuable. And I felt so bad. And there were tears in my eyes. When I have to leave them there, I thought of losing a great treasure. That was my feeling at that time. But today, when I look at it, and today, if somebody offers me those many color stones, I will not pick up even a single one. Because today, I know the real status of those stones. I know that they are not as valuable as I thought when I was a child. So, a real knowledge about a thing helps us in removing the attachment. We don't have to do any extra efforts. The key point is that we spend enough time to look at the things, look at all the aspects of the thing, not only what we see by our eyes or the outer look, but go deeper. Try to understand the microscopic realities of the things. And so we get a rational way of looking at the thing. And then, once we know the real value, many of the things will automatically drop out. So we don't have to make then any special efforts to renounce them. The very knowledge of their real value, their real properties will sort of reduce our possessiveness about them. Rabindranath Tagore has written a beautiful poem called Playthings. So there he describes the human nature in a beautiful way. He says, small children, naturally, they are attached to the dolls and the toys. And a child, even though the clothes are torn off, the doll is very old, it has become dirty, but the child carries it everywhere. For the child, that doll is priceless. That child cannot think its life without the doll. And if the doll breaks down, some hand has fallen off or leg has fallen off, or some other way it is damaged, the child keeps crying and crying and crying. Maybe for 2, 3, 4 days, for a week. And it will still remember that toy, that doll, and it still wants that doll to be back. And Rabindranath Tagore says that we grow in the age, but our attitude of possessing the dolls is still with us. The only thing is our playthings are changing. Instead of doll, today it may be a car or a house or expensive clothing or the ornaments, some other things, some other toy. But the attitude of possessing that toy hasn't gone. It still remains. So that way we are still children, and the only thing we have done or only thing we are doing is we are sort of changing the toys. So when we talk about renunciation, I think this is very important aspect. We have to remember that there is a child inside us. Only the playthings are changing. Saint Kabir was going from one town to another. And in those days, you have to travel on your foot. And he had his son, 12-year son, Kamal, with him. And Kabir is little ahead, and his son Kamal is about 15-20 feet behind him. And they are walking, and in those days the roads were all muddy roads, not the cement concrete roads or not the tar roads like today we have. And so on the muddy road they are going from one town to another, and they are on the road which is now isolated because they cross the town and they are going to another town. As Kabir is going ahead, he saw a shining yellow thing lying in the mud, and he saw carefully, and it was a gold ornament, maybe a bracelet or something. And in his mind he thought, Kamal, my son, is only 12 years, and if he sees this gold ornament, he may get tempted to pick it up. And this is somebody else's ornament, and if he picks it up without the permission of that other person to whom it belongs, it will be like a theft. And so quickly by his leg he put some mud on it so that it is fully covered. So now he is happy that his son, 12-year son, Kunal, will not have any temptation to pick that item, pick the gold item. Because all human beings think gold is valuable. And they walked a little ahead after 5 minutes when they had crossed the gold item, and they were going, and Kunal, sort of caught up with his father, and Kunal was observing what his father was doing. He had a very sharp observing, capabilities, and so he noticed what his father is doing. And so when he caught up with his father, he said, why did you put the mud on the mud? And Kabir was shocked. And the Kunal went on that I know there was a gold ornament, and by your leg you put the mud on that. So you put a mud on another mud which is little colorful, which is a little yellowish in color and little shining, but that is mud, and you put another mud on that. And you in your mind You were thinking that that is a gold and you are covering it with the mud. So Kunal, his son, 12 years son, had a better understanding about the things. He knew that the gold, though in the eyes of human being it is valuable, it's just a dust. Few years back it was part of the dust, and then it went into refining process, and then they extracted gold out of that dust, but the gold is still a dust. So if one has that type of understanding about the reality of the things, I think our desire to collect the things, our greed to accumulate the things will get reduced to a great extent. Lot of things then we will not be collecting, because like Kunal will never collect the gold items because he has a deeper understanding that gold is after all a dust which is there. So the ignorance brings the greed, and greed brings the possessiveness. So we are walking and a car passes by. A car with a bright shining color, maybe brand new car, and it just passes by, and our eyes catch the image of that. And now our mind says, oh, I want that car. And it further says, if I don't get that car, I won't be happy until I get that car. What has happened? That car has auto-hypnotized us. Now, our happiness is linked to the car. And until we get the car, we cannot be happy. So now, we are going to spend a lot of time and efforts to collect the money to buy that car. So the car now is at a higher level than ourselves. And we are now slaves of that car. The car is demanding. Car has auto-hypnotized us. And then car is now going to control our behavior and priorities and what we will be doing until we get that car. So now that item, in this case the car, for us is at a higher level than where we are. So we are not the master now. We are the slave of that thing. And we are working very hard to get the thing, because until then we won't be happy. Our happiness now is linked to that car. And 6 months, 1 year, and the car comes to our home. Surprisingly, only the car comes and no happiness. We only imagined that the car has a happiness built along with it, but no. It was our auto-hypnosis that made us think about it. we forgot the reality of the thing. We forgot to evaluate with a rational mind, going deeper into the various aspects of the thing. And so we had a big expectation, and now the car comes and there is no happiness. So we are now miserable. There is a pain, there is a suffering, because we were expecting so much of happiness and that happiness has not come. And now what we think is, oh, maybe I made a mistake in thinking that the car will bring happiness. And then our mind suggests, hey guys, that diamond necklace, that is going to bring the happiness. So the diamond necklace now auto-hypnotizes us, and we follow the same process again. We make the same mistake. We go in the same circle again. And again, we get the frustration. And so, the possessiveness is coming because of the greed, and the greed is coming because of the ignorance. And so, we need to keep focusing on all these aspects and bring the awareness about the things here. We will come back to the Tyaga again, but let us look at the other aspect first, little bit, which is the Dana, donation. So as we saw, the Dana is where we keep some part of the things with us. Say we have some money, and a fraction of that we are going to donate. Give it to somebody, give it to some cause, give it to for religious activity or social activity, or giving it to some, sharing with some other friends or people in need and all that. So important thing is that when we are sharing with others, it's a good habit, it's a good thing, because sharing will bring some sort of a fulfillment, sense of fulfillment. And I know a family where they had laid down a good rule for themselves, and 3 generations of that they had a business. And this is the 3rd generation in the business. And they made a very simple rule that whatever profit they make, they divide into 4 equal parts. The profit is divided into 4 equal parts. 1 part will go to the charity. That is 25% of the profit will go to the charity. Another part, which is 25%, will go for the household expenses. Another part, which is another 25%, will be reinvested into the business. And the 4th part, which is another 25%, they will reserve it for the women folks in the family. So all the girls who get married into their family, or all their daughters and sisters who get married into other family, they are all, get the part of that 25%. So I think this is a good discipline, and they have been doing it, for 3 generations. So it makes sure that, you are dedicating some part to the charity, to the donation. And I think this type of discipline will help us. So it may be ideal if we can decide what percentage of our income we give into the charity. And no matter what is the situation, we should allocate that percentage. So a good amount of discipline remains in our life, and we get the benefit of the sense of satisfaction we derive out of giving the donation. Because a very good principle Jainism explains in some other context, that only when you give the things to others, only when you give the things to others, that is the only time you really own it. And all other time you are just guarding it as a security guard. So when you give, you are really owner of that. So if you want to increase the richness of yourself, you need to give more and more and more. And we all know that if you give more, you get more. That, sort of treasure never goes down. So giving more and more is a good habit, and only then you are the owner of those things. So this is very important. A man was passing by from one town to another, and again, in those days, people have to walk, and he saw a big temple being constructed. And there was an old man, maybe 91, 92 or something like that. And this fellow asked him, what is being done? And he said, yeah, we are building a temple, and I am in charge of building this temple. And my father also specialized in building the temples. So when I was 11 years, I joined his business, and now I am 92. So I have 81 years of experience in building the temples. And I built many, many temples. So this fellow said, yeah, but why these people are building the temple here? And the old man laughed, and he said, you want to know why this temple is being built? Come with me. And there were a lot of workers working there, cutting the stones of different size, and carving out certain things. And so he took this man inside. They went inside, and then at one place there was a stone on which the name of the person who is building the temple was engraved. So the old man says, my friend, this is the reason why the temple is being built. This man wants his name. He wants a fame. And let me tell you, all the temples I constructed, this is the reason why they are constructed. For the sake of name, for the sake of publicity, for the sake of getting a good status in this society. So if you are donating for this reason, that is not a donation. That is your ego. And so that donation has a zero value. Rather, it has a negative value because it is sort of strengthening your ego. So your passions are now higher rather than becoming lower. So if it is because of your ego, that donation is not good. That is not real donation. And that's why Bhagwan Mahavir has given a simple sutra. He says, if your right hand is donating, generally we donate by right hand, we give it by right hand. So the sutra says, if your right hand is donating, make sure that your left hand also does not know. Forget about other people knowing. Forget about publicity. Even your left hand should not know. So really what it means is you should not attach your name to the donation which we are giving. It should be without your name. Anonymous donation. But most of the time, as this old man said, 99% of the time, the donations are given because of ego. Because it brings either good name in the society, it increases your social status, it gives you the publicity, and there are quite a lot of people who, take the video when they are donating or they publicize it, and they have a big list of what they have done where, but that may not fall into a real donation. It can be treated as the extension of ego. So when you are donating, you need to sort of be aware of this situation, and then handle it in a proper way. So there are different types of dana. So there is a aushad dana, that is, if people are in need of medicine or medical treatment, you should help them as much as possible. If some people need food and things like that, so we should give it to them. That is a different, another type of then if people need the education, you should sort of help them to get educated. And then there is another, like if some people need some protection, so you should provide the protection. That there are some people in the society who are weaker and they cannot protect themselves or their families, and so we need to extend our helping hand. So it is said that donating food is good, but annadanam mahadanam vidya danam mahattaram. Annena shanika truptir yavat jivantu vidya. So if you feed somebody with the food, his hunger is gone momentarily. After a few hours, he is going to be hungry again, and he is going to need the food again. So educating that person is many times more powerful more valuable than just feeding him. Because once you educate the man or a woman, then that person can be self-reliant. And that person then can take care of himself, not only himself or herself, but they can take care of their family. And also the education will give them the dignity and self-respect and confidence. And that is very, very important. So if there is a choice and you can afford, I think helping other people to get educated should be, our priority. And if that can be done, that actually is going to be very, very good. So a person, there are a lot of people who are miser. They earn a lot of money, but they don't spend on anything. They don't spend on themselves and they don't spend on others. The ideal situation would be you earn the money, definitely. You earn enough for yourself. And you should. You should earn enough for yourself because all the things related to livelihood, your essential things for you and the family must be provided. And so there is no restriction on earning money, creating the wealth, and then there is no restriction on how much you can create. But the concept is that you earn enough, definitely you earn enough for your livelihood and giving good standard of living to your family and you. And then if you can earn more, earn it, but keep it as a trust from which you can help the others. So don't misuse, don't spend it lavishly in unwanted, functions or extravaganza. Nowadays there is a tendency of, to show off. In functions, people like marriage, people spend lavishly. And in 1 or 2 days, a lot of money is just gone. And a lot of people, there are birthdays nowadays, and people find any other reason to celebrate, and this is all for show off. So we should avoid the show off and treat that money as a trust fund, that we are a custodian of that money and use that money to help the others. Like somebody needs education, you should help with that money. Somebody needs medical assistance, we should use part of that money. Somebody needs some protection, we should use part of that money. So you keep whatever you need for your livelihood and for the family, maintain a standard of living. Whatever is extra surplus you are earning, you put that as a separate amount, a trust with you. You don't have to, so you yourself say that, okay, this part is now. So that is the real donation, what you are giving. And that donation you will use for others. And this is the way I think. So the miser one, the person who is a miser, he is not enjoying anything. He is simply earning the money and not enjoying himself, not using for himself, and keeping with him. Man, he is not giving to anybody else. So he is like a ATM machine, which is only taking the money in. And this man, his only objective is to earn the money. So he has made himself, like a machine, which mints the money. And he will keep it, and one day he will die, and the money will go in somebody's hands. So there is a very old saying which says, Krupanena samodata na bhuto na bhavishyati asprusham naiva vittani yap parichayet. So a miser is the best donor in the world, because all other people who are donating, they are donating by their hands. So they are touching the wealth, they are touching the money and then giving. And this miser is donating without touching it, because he is just keeping there, and he dies one day and that money goes to somebody. So he is donating without touching. So this is little a sarcastic way of explaining that a miser, his life is miserable. That's why the miserable word has come from miser. A miser, miserable. A miser's life is always miserable. So for example, say there is a miser person, say X, and he has collected a lot of wealth. So he bought a lot of gold, he bought a lot of diamond and kept in his safe. Now that gold and diamonds have not brought any joy, any happiness, any festivity, any celebration to this man's life. He never got a chance to celebrate, and is dancing and enjoying and singing, and no, nothing. The gold is there in the safe, the diamonds are there in the safe. And one day, they are stolen from the safe. And now this man is crying, beating his chest and crying and say, oh my goodness, I lost this and I lost. Now that gold and those diamonds were sitting in the safe without giving him any happiness. So instead of diamonds and gold, if there were stones, what difference it would have made? Nothing. He's just carrying the burden on his chest. And so a miser's life is always miserable. He is just the money-making machine. And so we need to sort of take steps to avoid and not be like that. So a good amount of awareness will help us to make it understand that unless you use your wealth, its value is zero. Like this miser, there is so much wealth lying, but its value was zero. So as we have seen the earlier principle, that only that which you donate, only that which you give to others, only that which you share with others is the only thing you really own. And by giving others, you are becoming richer. You are getting the sense of fulfillment, and that's why. And that is very, very important. And now coming back to the things and our understanding about the things, let's go back to the story of the Eskimos. So this man, one explorer from Europe, went first time to the Eskimos land, where Eskimos are staying, and he was their guest because he was trying to study how they live and what is their value system, and uh, how is their life. So the Eskimos are poor people. I mean, they are poor among the poor, so they are poorest. Because in that place where they stay, their houses are small, called igloos, and in that house there are not many things, very, very few things, and they don't have much source of income, so they are really, really poor at the rock bottom. And this man went and stayed into the family for the first day. And he said, oh, your shoes are very beautiful. And that person took out his shoes and gave it to him. And that fellow had only one pair of shoes. And in that place where it is all, ice, walking without shoes is very, very dangerous. But he didn't hesitate. When this fellow said, your shoes are beautiful, he took out the shoes and gave it to him. Then this man writes that next day I went into another family and stayed with them. And he said, I was not knowing their customs and their value system because I went to study that. And so next day he went to another family and told them, look guys, your coat is very good. And that fellow took out the coat and gave it to me. He didn't hesitate even for a moment. And same thing happened on the third day. In third family, he said, this is good, and they immediately gave it to him. So the third day evening, he asked a very old man there, what is this? I am puzzled. When I say something good, they just give that thing to me. So what it is like? So the old man says, look here, we believe that things are things. They do not belong to anybody. They belong to everybody. And it is just the coincidence that that particular thing is with me. And second part is that somebody likes it, means now he is attached to that. That thing has sort of auto-hypnotized him. And that thing is with me, now it's not much valuable to me. So immediately I give it to that person and now it belongs to him. So his auto-hypnosis will be broken much faster. And third and important thing he says is that we believe when we give the things to somebody, that is the only time our ownership is established on that. Because we own it, we have the ability to give it to other. If we don't give it to other, then there is no chance for us to establish the ownership. And that is why we give it immediately. I know, friends, for us to come to that level of understanding, that level of simplicity, that level of deeper understanding of how the things are, what is their relationship with us and with the other people around us, is very deep rooted. And we may not come to that level immediately, but I think we need to keep that in mind, that if we come to that level of understanding, means our ignorance about the things will be reduced. It means our greed will be minimized, because now we understand the true nature of the things. And once our greed is minimized, our desire to possess the things also will be minimized. So we will not be collecting the things like mad. We will generally be collecting the things which are bare minimum, which are there required for our, day-to-day life, to maintain a minimum standard of living. And once the greed disappears, so for that we will need that level of understanding. And we need to work to enhance our understanding and bring it to that level, so that a real Uttam Tyag will happen at that point in time. A real Dana is going to happen at that point in time. So, to remember the things very, very simply regarding the Uttama Tyaga, which is also involving the Dana, is very simple. As long as in our life the things have greater value than ourselves, we will be auto-hypnotized by the things. There will be not clear understanding, so we will have ignorance, and so we will have greed, and so we will keep collecting. So the first principle is to have a clear understanding of the things, broad level and at the microscopic level. Second important thing is to have clear understanding that the things by itself are not the goals. Things are just the means towards achieving some other goal. So we need to be able to segregate that this thing, getting that car, should not be my goal. Car should be a means to achieve something. And then I have to make sure that I myself is more valuable than the things. And I am in control. So if we follow these three simple sutras, three simple steps, I think we will be able to have a very good transformation of ourselves. We will enhance the quality of our flowering. We will enhance the quality of our blossoming, and we will be at the higher level of purification. And if that happens, and that is happening inside, in the Unter-Atma, this whole thing is happening in Unter-Atma. And as we have seen, the manifestation of what we are in Antaratma is being seen in the outer. So whatever we do, all actions in the outer is simply the manifestation of what is our self inside. So as our purity is increasing, means our passions, anger, greed, ego, decide, they are considerably reducing. And likes and dislike. So they are considerably reducing. It means the stress, strain, the tension, the uncertainty, fear factor, inferiority complex, enmity, all those negativities are considerably reducing. And the positive factors are getting stronger and stronger. So we are more confident, we have more energy, we have more creativity. There is a celebration, there is a festivity, there is a tranquility. Our peace of mind is increasing, and we are much better person. And that is the objective of inner purification. That whatever we are at the beginning of the selection parva, in 10 days of purification, and these 10 days are focused only on yourself, nobody else, only on yourself, and only on 10 inner qualities of you, what we are calling as 10 petals of inner blossoming. And so this is unique time that 10 days are available to focus on yourself, your qualities, and use the tools and techniques we discussed so far to enhance your purification and maintain that purification level. So that inner transformation is going to enrich our life and make us a better person. So a short-term goal of reducing your day-to-day problem is achieved. A long-term goal of spiritual achievement also is taken care. So with that, friends, we conclude today's lecture. Om Arham.
jainworld.com 25 years of service to Jainism.